throw your life away on, with Andrew Reed and the Liberation. It's a serious question, one worth pondering. Am I living the life I want, an intelligent life, or something else? How can I have a better experience of life? These are some of the questions explored in this series of messages without the brag and the advertisement, getting beyond even human institutions and society, into the wilderness, nature, the reality of how life actually operates on this planet. These messages range from intimate recordings from the awakened forest to concerts, national conferences, and broadcasts on a wide array of philosophical topics.
This message, "No one has ever seen God," is another fairly startling set of words because it's not something that we think of because, again, the mind needs images and we think in terms of images. And with this said, my intent is not to favor any particular belief system here, but it's to be open. I don't want it to sound preachy or anything like that, because you start talking about divinity, God, the intelligence behind this world, and people have some definite beliefs about what God looks like and the way God behaves and everything. And of course, there's truth to all of this, but we'll never know in the fullness, at least in my humble opinion, again, because we're fairly limited beings. But it's an idea worth pondering, and I think some people will find some comfort in it.
Have you ever considered the notion that no one has ever seen God? And of course, I don't want to be preachy. I just want to express some ideas. Because this idea that no one has ever seen God, I think for many is probably a very unsettling idea. But if you go to the good book, it says such. And it suggests what? That God is in the air, in empty space, in the nothingness. The silence has been called the sound of God. But yet, when we think God, we think in terms of images, because that's what the human mind does. If I say don't think of a chair, well, you can't help yourself. You think of a chair. So, because of our machinery, our mechanisms, our mind, we think in terms of images. So when we think of God or the sovereign of this universe, the intelligence behind this creation here in nature, we think of a white-haired old gentleman, usually in a robe, sandals, and all that. But yet God's not that at all. Or you could say God is in everything. That we've all seen God because it's self-evident that through creation that it's not a mess, that it's not chaos, that it's not random, that it all is intelligent, that it all works together in mutual harmony, where nothing is out of place. I mean, bring me the person that criticizes the clouds in the sky and say they need to be lined up in a more orderly way. Or the waves on the sea, or the particular arrangement of the leaves on a bush or a tree. No, they're perfect, and they're doing their job. But no one has ever seen God. God's in the nothing, the air, the empty space, in the silence that we so often find ourselves. That's something to ponder. And the thing about all of these is that they are unnoticed, right? We don't notice the air. When we look out into space, we notice the planets twinkling at us, saying hello from the heavens back at us. We really don't notice the space. We don't notice the silence. And I think that's part of the point, is that the unnoticed, the unseen, is supportive in nature. And that it is the dominant feature. I mean, the actual matter is the lesser of the two by infinite quantities. And that the great space, the air, the unseen, the silence, is the dominant and the supportive, perhaps, nature of God. And it is so immense, this idea of infinite. We can't get our heads around that as a human being. We just can't, with our five senses, to interpret the world. It's beyond us. When we look, for example, into space, there are millions of miles between planets. And depending upon your level of magnification, we can go into the human body, and there are millions of miles of some type of measurement between the cells in our bodies. It's the same. These vast distances that are, again, unseen, unnoticed, unappreciated. And thus, this seems to be the nature of God, in the unappreciated, in the unrecognized so often, except for that feeling that we know it is, or I am. Consider health. When all the parts of our bodies are working well, we don't notice them. When our eyes can see clearly, we don't notice that they're working properly. When our hands are functioning and doing all the things we want them to do, we don't notice that. We don't, therefore, appreciate it until something breaks, until they're injured, till they stop working. And then that pain summons our attention. And of course we address it, and that's natural. And then after the pain, yes, at that point, we are grateful. We are more conscious. We are more considerate. We take better care of our bodies or our things after these painful experiences. But when health is working, we don't appreciate it. We don't notice it to the extent that perhaps we should. So maybe God is unnoticed and is unrecognized by design. That's okay, even. Hey, I'm doing my thing. I'm all around you. You're seeing me every day in everything. And that's fine. And that we have those occasional epiphanies of, oh my God, I'm getting some help. This world is benevolent, and it works for my benefit. I've been around the world many times, and in Europe, there's this great cathedral, and there's this altar where this man worked his entire life. That is, most of his working life. I'm sure he had an apprenticeship and all that to get the job to build the altar. But he spent his entire life, because back in those days, they would take 20, 30, 40, 50 years to complete a project. It's not like today, where we need that instant gratification, and that explains some of the fine craftsmanship behind these structures. And in the back of the altar is the inscription, "To the invisible God, which no one has seen." So somewhere in this man's work, his toils, he had a lot of time to contemplate things. I'm certain someone of that regarding his craftsmanship, was very precise about every detail, every chisel that he would make into that wood to reveal the beauty of this altar. So he obviously knew he was actually building a symbol to a force or intelligence that's unseen, that's unrecognized, just like the work of his hands. That, yes, people would see it, but they would never know all the hours all the time, all the love that was put into that thing of beauty. And perhaps it's in the unseen, the unnoticed, the intangible, that are the real gifts of God. Where our thoughts come from. We don't know where they come from. We can't command them. But yet they happen. And these thoughts, everything in the concrete world came out of the invisible, the unnoticed, the unseen, in the form of a thought or a vision. And we take these intangible things and turn them into reality. That, perhaps, is the gift of God, and that we all have it in us at the same time. So many people like to think this either or, that God is out there, but God is everywhere, in the unseen, and He's in us too.
Thank you for listening. If you need anything further, just go to nvi.life.